What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Shadow Nexus 13. Hope you all been enjoying all the content, right? Today's episode is the beginning of the start of a series. I have been working on a book for quite some time now, and this book has been a very, very long time in the making, right? And since I'm nearing having it finished, I decided that today I was going to talk about illusion, as the thumbnail clearly is readable. You have read, if you was paying attention and seen it, it's probably why you clicked on it, unless you got notified because you hit the notification bell, ding ding, every time that I drop some new content. If that's the case, then congratulations. I applaud you. I do. All right. So, don't mind the setup. Some of you know what this is, others won't. If you do, you do. That's great and fine and all. And I have a little something special we're going to do. I want to just demonstrate something to help my future followers, subscribers, out, whichever. Subscribers, followers, same thing, right? But we'll get to that momentarily, right? And if you see my last video, where I had the moon card and the ace of swords, and then it goes into a little drama that I do, right? Now, I've said this countless times before in previous videos, where you never know what you're gonna get on my channel. You really don't, and that's the beauty of it. I don't like to limit myself to just being something that everybody else is already doing, or you name it, right? I like to be that one of a kind, unique, 100% genuine, authentic, no counterfeit whatsoever. When you arrive to my channel, you just never know. You just never know what you might get, right? So, that being said, before I jump into this, I just wanted to say, if you see the one video, I don't even remember what the title of it was, but I said something about, I was bitching about Walmart. I was saying something about Walmart, and I said, do we even need stores anymore? And I was like, just stay healthy and drink lots of water, but sometimes I'm guilty myself. This is the new Twizzlers orange creamsicle filled. Oh my god. And they're so amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But Twizzlers aside, let's go ahead and cleanse the energy. Alright. And I highly recommend trying those out if you haven't already. Oh my gosh, they're so good. I absolutely love those fucking things. Delicious. Just cleansing the energy space for all my viewers and the overall surrounding. I wish I could go downstairs and cleanse that for them too. Maybe they wouldn't be so pissy. Right? It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't take anything personal, you know. I want another bite of that Twizzlers. Delicious. So, ooh, I should probably grab my water. Let me grab my water real quick. All right. So I'm not going to tell you the title of my book yet, because if I speak it into existence and I've yet to publish, well then, I think we all know where the realm of possibilities that could linger into. And we know people like to steal ideas because they don't know how to be original. Fucking A, man. Fucking A. Get your own shit. Damn it. So, today I'm just going to go into a little bit of it, right? And I'm going to be talking about why, well, here, let's just jump into it. The human mind is not a linear structure, right? Because it's a stack of layers, each with its own sensory and, you know, bandwidth. Basically, it's its own style of processing, and it has its own purpose, right? And the thing is that most people only access the first two layers, right? Now, layer number one is linear thought, language, logic, identity, social persona, and memory that's tied to narrative. And this layer is reactive, right? It's not only reactive, it's slow reaction. And most people live and die inside of that, right? Woohoo! What? If I had one of those, I'd do it. But so there's that. And layer two, ladies and gentlemen, is the imprint mind, right? And within the imprinted mind, this is where we have trauma, conditioning, emotional feedback, subconscious narratives, shadow patterns, belief systems inherited from culture, generation upon generation. And it's in the second layer, right? Because the second layer hijacks the first layer, right? And when it does that, well, it's masquerading as self. You know, it's where the ego exists. It coexists with those two going on together, right? So, point is, when you break these two layers open, and a lot of us are already there. If you're here on my channel, you're most likely you're already there, because you don't just arrive to my channel by accident. It's not the case. Not how it works. Not convinced? Well, you will be shortly. Or somewhere along the line. You'll recognize it yourself. You won't need me to tell you anything or say anything to convince you otherwise. I'm not here to convince anybody. Do your own research. Do your own thing. Feel things out. Use your discernment. Do your own research. Right? Right. So, as I was saying, when you break these two layers open, well then, that's where your void state was. And when this happens, the collapse of the false imprint programming right? It just collapses into that dissolving. And this sets that chain reaction. The ball is fucking rolling, man. And now you gain access to the deeper layers. So, the deeper layers is layer 3, as I like to call it. And I call layer 3 the inner oracle. All right? This is where the psychic interface, right, between you and the non-linear field connects, right? So this is where your intuition becomes data. This is where synchronicity becomes dialogue. This is where insight becomes instantaneous, right? You're seeing the numbers all over the place, and your dreams are online, your visions are happening, you're getting images in your mind's eye, right? You, when you space out, you're just like, you walk in, you see somebody that got that blank look on their face, and don't even realize you're standing there, and then they look at you and you're like, well, welcome back. Yeah, what kind of information did you just get? Right? So insight becomes instant, and symbolic language becomes visible. And not only does it become visible, but it becomes a lot easier to navigate, right? So it's in this state where a lot of collective, and we've all heard it before, many of you have, maybe some of you haven't. If not, you're hearing it now, all right? We call this downloads, right? Where we get stowed on by the spirit world. And so, but most people, right? Most people just mimic the language without accessing the actual connection, right? Where it's vibrating at, where you're at, with your subconscious, with your connection to the ethers, right? Now, so the inner oracle, as I like to call it, only opens when your ego is deprogrammed, the soul is centered, and the self is sovereign, as well as the internal noise that we have, right? When that's dismantled. So if you arrived here, then you have hit those thresholds, and that's why your insights flow in the raw state of form that it's in your very essence, right? So you're just this raw flow of information, being the channel that you are, and you're raw dog unfiltered, right? So your inner oracle is activated and online when you arrive to layer 3. Now, where am I going with this next? Well, I'll tell you. So I'm going to stop just that there because I want to continue the series forward, as some people like to say. And I just want to share a little bit of information about what made me want to step outside of my comfort zone and jump into this here video to share with everybody, right? Because it's the precursor before I actually try to publish my book, right? And like I said in other videos, I have a lot to offer here, so much to offer just stick around and continue to subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime I drop something new. Ding ding, right? And always drop a comment. Please do interact, right? We need to talk to one another, get to know each other, bond here. As long as you're not toxic. If you're toxic, well, I think we can see where this goes. Or maybe not. So, I was sitting here the other day, and I was just getting all these downloads, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I was really analyzing all this information, right? Not latching onto it, just in an a state of observation, if I could talk today, right? And so I was reminiscing, gnawing over the thoughts, and it has to do with coping skills. Like how do we cope with overwhelming situations? And I was reflecting. I was in this deep reflection of that subject specifically, and I was just thinking about how in the time that I've been staying in a hotel and all the chaos and everything that's going on, the new energies and everything, blase, you name it. And there was times where I got bitched at. I got in trouble here, y'all, for playing the singing bowls because, I would get these narcissists underneath me, and God forbid if you play past 10 o'clock, grown ass man here, but motherfuckers can have their TVs on, right? So there's that, and I'll eat a Twizzler. I know, I'm bad. I'm so bad. But so yeah, that's what I'm gnawing over the thought about all these things and fuckeries. And I was just thinking, like currently the people that I have underneath me, they there's three of them, and it's two dudes and one girl, and there's a lot of times where they're getting it on, passing back and forth, and I have to hear that shit. Like, I'm cool, like whatever, like, nah. But still, it's something that I have to deal with in my environment, right? And so for a long time, I didn't play the singing bowls at all because I was like, because when I got bitched at by the undershare, they were like, Ruben, you cannot be playing the singing bowls. It is, pissing off my customers. So yeah, whatever, dude. So for the longest time, after being told, if you do it again, I'll kick you out, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. So I didn't play them. My glasses are Hunter Vision. They don't even have lenses in them. I was just wearing them to look sophisticated. I just like being silly sometimes, y'all. Gotta loosen up. No one to loosen up. Just fucking live a little, you know what I mean? Like, God, don't be tense all the time. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Take everything so fucking seriously. Do some shadow work. Do some purging. Get it out your fucking system. Live, breathe. Stop holding your breath before you pass out. you know? And anyways, so I was sitting there and I was thinking about how I deal with things and I cope with things. And I was thinking, well, there's a book I have, and I've actually read it here on the channel. If you go look for the videos, it's called The Four Agreements. This book here by Don Miguel Ruiz. Great book. In my other video, I posted the Four Agreements in there on my last video before this one. And so anyhow, I have learned so much from that book, and I do my best to apply all four agreements as a guideline to live by, right? So when you apply that and you're consistent with it, and you do the best that you can with it, and take your time, right? Be patient with yourself to do these things, to try new things, especially when it comes to reprogramming the programmed mind from the indoctrinated life from generation upon generation that we have dealt with, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I was like, out of all the times that I've sat here and I've just observed my surroundings, because I'm the type of individual, right, who I can memorize. I'm really good with memorizing sound, right? And a lot of that is just natural to me, right? And plus, I have a lot of experience in the producer world of music, and because when I was an artist, not that I'm not now, that's not something that I'm doing currently, right? And so, when you have such a love for music in general, and then other sounds, and then you get through the challenge of conquering distractive type noises environmentally through meditative state and whatnot, you have a different type of coping mechanism that goes on there, right? And I'm just so fucking thankful that I went through all the years of therapy that I did with my mom and stuff like that throughout my childhood and my earlier years and throughout my teen years. So when I learned all the tools that I needed to put it into my belt and actually use them and give a shit to apply them to my everyday life, to have these coping mechanisms on how better to deal with certain types of situations, and I graduated anger management, well, when I started utilizing it and applying it and using it, doing that, living it, you have to live it. And so when I became this living powerhouse of coping mechanisms that work to help me better deal with the challenges that aren't necessarily predictable, right? There's always going to be unpredictabilities. Nothing we can do about it. There is always that raw dog, nothing you can do about it, unpredictable, unknowing. That is always going to exist. However, the more we apply ourselves in our practice, which I have, then the more that we can better deal with things. And this is all the things that I'm reminiscing about. Now, so back to the observe. I'm an observer, a silent observer, and I memorize my surroundings, right? Doesn't matter where I've been and where I've lived at, Whether it was long term, short term, you know, the long terms weren't as long term, so we'll just call them short terms, right? I had all, intentions of them being long terms, but not so much, because sometimes when how we see things, how we plan them to be, well, the universe has a whole another magical way of doing things that we have yet to foresee, right? And any, anyhow, being the observer that I am, right? I memorize these surroundings, right? I could tell you, oh, this is so and so's car, truck, neighbor, right? This is that over here going on. This is this over here going on. And I could tell by the gravel and driveways of who was going where. I could tell by the creak of a door who was who, right? That was me. Still is. So, anyhow, I've observed from this room, right? People downstairs, right? I don't want to be too loud. I don't want to talking shit and then get all bent out of shape, start banging on something, and you never know. I mean, that's what narcissistic people tend to do, right? No judgment, but facts is facts. And so the one has this, the work schedule. I think he's a mechanic or something. He's an older dude. Well, he's the only one that leaves at like 5:30 in the morning, right? And so I always do the best I can to be as respectful as I can, but my floors are really creaky. I don't have any control over the floors here, y'all. This is the creakiest floorboard room I've ever been in, anywhere, in any house, any place, especially a motherfucking hotel. Like, goddamn. But it's outside of my control. So if you want to get upset over creaky floors, then get upset over creaky floors. There's nothing I can do about it, guy. Right? And so but this is where that mindfulness comes into play, and I am respectful, and I do, facts, confirmation. And I give it my best. Even though I don't receive the same type of treatment, I do my due diligence, right? And that being said, I'm just going over this whole thought process, and I was just thinking, uh, they bitch a lot down there, and sometimes, now, if I was to assume, just because the timing hit right while I'm walking on the floor and somebody's griping, but I can't hear what it is they say, well, then if I assume, right? Just follow me because you're going to understand where I'm going with this. If I assume that because I walked across that creaky floor, it pisses the person off below me, and that's why they're yelling because the timing was perfect, right? That's assumption. And, well, that's where the surface mind and the imprint mind come in play, right? So the old egotistical mind is always, no matter how far we are along in our journey and our practice, right? It exists. It's a thing. And it's always trying to get its little tentacles up in here and convince you otherwise to try to get you to fall, right? But when you're able to identify it as such, and that is what it is in essence for itself, well then we can start to counter argue these old negative thought processes that try to bring us down into these negative mindsets, right? We can correct them. We can throw ourselves under the bus and start to correct these things, and therefore we can prevent ourselves from subduing ourselves, right? And submitting to our own sabotage, talking ourselves down more and more and more. Why does this always happen to me? And blah, 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 and and poor me, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Enough. Enough is enough. Nah, not this time. Thanks, you served me. Send you away with love. We've already did this tango. Like an old family reunion I didn't care to be at in the first place. Thanks. I lived in Misery's company once. And then I lived in Misery's company again. And time after that. Person to person, individual to individual, y'all. I did. Yes, I did. And, when you find self-love and you walk away from all that bullshit, and then, then you got the people who wear the masks. They're really well at playing, being something that they're not. And they wear the mask that is the ultimate test for you to see where you're at on your journey. And you call them out. So, yeah, they're all this and that, and it's all fucking, sprinkles on top of sundaes and fucking rainbows and unicorns, and it's not. We know better than that. Something's off here. Got the white flag. I think I'm sensing a red flag, maybe a yellow flag, So if it's feeling off, well, 9 times out of 10, something's probably fucking off. So when you live through all these things, we go through this process of reflections. And the great part about utilizing these tools, from learning the hard way, which is unfortunate for some, but I choose to look at it from a different perspective, right? And when we stop trying to judge everything and release control over it, well, that's when the ultimate clarity comes in, right? This is when we're in our inner oracle, right? Trusting our innate, using our discernment correctly. And it's here in the subconscious, while we're conscious, that we are reprogramming ourselves, because we are staying frequently in our frequency, consistent and persistent with it. And the more we do it, the more we apply it, and the harder we keep trying without forcing things to be, well, then we get into this flow state that just starts naturally happening. And it's like, okay, well, I can keep myself stagnant and not play these bowls. Or, out of fear of I'm going to get kicked out if I get caught again. Or I could choose to say, fuck that, submit the fear, and do it anyways, within reasonable time frame. Now, let's keep in mind that that doesn't mean that I can control the outside noisy world from getting into the recording, right? Outside of my control. But what I do is when I hear sound, I'll play the bowl a little bit louder, hoping that the microphone won't pick that sound up, and it'll drown out that other noise, and it'll fade out and not get close enough, right? So there's all these little things that I'm thinking about, and I'm doing the best that I can while keeping myself in a state of where I'm center and I am able to perform to the best of my ability in order to deliver the content that I do, right? Not overthinking and, over analyzing everything critically, because that's where you don't want to be, and that's where you can trip yourself up really easily. You're setting yourself up for failure because you think you got control over everything. That's not inside your world of control, and that's not a cool place to be at. We have to operate in a relaxed state while our awareness is, you know, pushed further outward. The more aware we are in our consciousness, our state of awareness, the higher our state of awareness becomes, the further out it goes in our energetic field, our Taurus energetic field. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, we all have a Taurus field, just like the Earth does. We are all electric, magnetic, and frequency beings, okay? Well, not all of us. There are NPC programs and fake birds and all that shit. Watch out. Just saying. But not everybody believes the same thing. So anyhow, if I'm able to call out that thought process, right? Well, then I can call it out, say, no, I'm not going there. You're not tricking me this time. I'm not going to be Mr. and Mrs. Negative Nancy over here, you know. No thanks, Shaniqua. You know, I'm good. You know, all that shit. And when you, the better that you get at that, well, then that's where you want to be at. Because now, and it becomes easier the more we release, the more we stop giving a fuck about all the shit that doesn't matter. And a lot of people might not like the fact that I use the F word, but listen, it is a universal word and I like it. And if you don't like it, you can get on gone. Like, because I'm cool. Listen, I see you. I do. I see you just like I see myself. Because we all mirroring up in here. We all mirroring. Working through the fog of everyday life. You know? 100 visions, baby. 100 visions. So, it's just important to note here that when it comes to illusion, most of the illusion in our day-to-day lives has to do with our coping mechanisms and what we lead ourselves and allow ourselves to believe. If you have a weak belief system, mentality, well then, misery loves company. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that one day you click and wake up and you can get on with the dumb shit and start doing the work like a lot of us are already doing, right? Not everybody will arrive. They won't. But me, I keep on pushing, and I don't just do it for myself, I do it for y'all. And so I'm going to end it on that note and move on to a little experiment, which isn't even an experiment. It's an experiment for y'all if you want to try it, right? You can. Always remember to be safe. That's why I have this metal bowl on the board. A lot of you, especially like witches and shamans and, you know, energetic star seeds, all the ones who have the practice and know what's up with this, right? So right, go. I might have put too much in there. What I'm using is, there we go. This is green alcohol. And what you want to do is grab you an ink pen. I'm using a Post-it, but you can use regular paper, right? And I recommend using different colored Post-it notes, right? Because I'm a water sign. But if you have different Post-it notes, you know, you can go according to your element, right? And when we want to release something and burn it away, this is another form of cord cutting, right? So I want to release, let's say, how about no more financial blockages. All right? No more financial blockages, what I wrote on that. And I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to let it burn. It's going to burn away. Right? What's something else that I don't want? Something else I want to release is the ability to take things personally, right? Let's make that one. The ability to take things personally, right? Personally. And I'm going to throw that into the pot too, right? It's a little bit more amped up here. I think we need some more fire on there. It's like it doesn't want to burn. I think I put too much in on this one, to be honest. Fuck it, I threw it in, right? Or we could have just used the candle too. Or you can have a fire outside and do it. You don't have to do it like this. Whatever sets the paper on fire, right? You just want to burn anything that's negative that you're trying to release. Write it down, set it on fire, put it in the bowl. The reason I'm doing it in the bowl is because I'm inside and I can't just go make a fire anywhere I want in the city. I mean, I could technically, but I'm not trying to, go to jail. Common sense, folks, common sense. So, anyways, this is what I have for each and every one of you today. So, if you are new here, I encourage you to like, share, subscribe, drop comments. Please do let me know where you're at. If this is something that you apply in your practice or anything that you might like to bring to the table and add in the comment section of what works for you, I would love to read it, and it will also help others in the community as well. After all, we are a shadow nexus together, and there's no community without y'all. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. Remember, just a friendly reminder, like and share. Don't be greedy, because there's others that's needing. And hit the notification bell so you can get notified anytime I drop something new. Ding ding. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So until next time, y'all, till our paths cross again, in the name of the crossroads, thank you for tuning in to Shadow Nexus. I'm your host, Thranadian. Much love.